Let's go! It's gonna be a football game tonight now. No doubt. It's gonna be a football game here. Okay. I done been here before. All right, let's go, baby.
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal.
And the Ohio State Buckeyes are the first national champions of the playoff era.
Ladies and gentlemen, football to football.
Your host, Sean Garmer, Gary Vaughn, and Randy Isbell.
Hello and welcome to another Football to Football, and that's the old NFL on CBS theme from like when I was about 7 years old, I think. So, whatever, Gary and Randy were probably a little bit older. But,
yeah, not a whole lot older. Come on, but yeah, we were older.
But yeah, so we'll be talking the Thursday Night Football game that just wrapped up pretty much. Man, what a crazy game that was. Overtime and everything. We're going to have a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and a Baltimore Ravens fan, hopefully, on to talk about how they felt about the game. And, of course, we will also be doing our Week 4 NFL preview, starting with the London game, first London game of the season, which we're going to tell you about because we're going to be doing something special with that London game when we get to that. And then, of course, we'll end with the Monday night game with Seahawks and Lions. And then we'll go through college football, Week 5, and then end with our what to look out for or watch for over the weekend. So, yeah. But, I mean, if this is your first time listening or maybe you've been here from the beginning, of course, I am your host, Sean Garmer. With me, as always, Mr. Gary Vaughn.
Yeah, I'm that guy wondering if Matt Hasselbeck is going to be on my fantasy team this week.
Oh, that's a doozy. But also here's Mr. Randy Isbell.
Yeah, I'm the guy that just turned in his resume to Pittsburgh to be their new field goal kicker.
I bet there's a lot of people turning in their resumes to Pittsburgh to find a new field goal kicker right now. But yeah, this is as I get our. I know we have our Steelers fan here on standby. I'm going to go ahead and get him on here because he's probably going to have some hot takes about the game. I was listening to a few different broadcasts from both sides. It was kind of interesting to hear on that level. But Mike Mitchell, welcome back to the podcast. I know you're not probably feeling that great right now considering your team just lost in a real close one. How do you feel right now? Who are you blaming for this loss?
Well, obviously everybody's going to say Josh Scobie, and that's an easy mark. But I think Tomlin should have gave that guy a chance for redemption at the end of the game. Josh Scobie's making $3.425 million to do one thing: kick the ball. And if you're paying a guy that much money to kick the ball, even if he's missed 2 field goals prior to that, when you have a chance to win the game, you go for it there. And I think the fact that he traded one weakness for another by letting Vick throw instead of letting Scobie kick, it's a bad decision in my opinion.
Well, he didn't let just Vick throw. He let Vick run on one of those as well.
Yeah, that was a design play call, though. I think he thought they might be able to get over on the Ravens. But the Ravens are a good run defense. I mean, I wasn't really happy with the play calling in the second half. I thought it was very vanilla, and I know they were trying to take, the Vick's opportunities to throw that game away, out of the equation. But in the end, it cost them the game.
So you're putting it on Tomlin.
Well, I think it's a Scobie and, the OC, the head coach, the decisions made there. I think at the end, though, they had the chance to win the game. You got to give Scobie a chance to kick the ball there. He's getting paid over $3 million a year. Let him kick it. If he misses again, he's probably going to be out of a job this week anyway, but then you definitely have a reason to fire him.
But are you totally okay with those play calls on all those fourth downs? Because, why not give it to Bell on one of those? Why you pass it on the second or third one? I can't remember which one we're at now, but the first one you do that design play call to the edge. That's fine, whatever. If you want to do that, but why not on a 4th and 1? You've got this big guy Bell he's been pretty decent all game. Why not try to? I get that everybody's thinking run there, but they have had a little bit of success.
Yeah, I think they could have tried play action somewhere along the ways there, and they never really did. And they had the play set up on that 4th down when they should have kicked. The play was there. Vick just missed the throw, flat out. Brown was open. It was a terrible throw, and in the end, it cost them the game. I was very impressed. I thought the Steelers' defense played way better than they played all season, to be honest. St. Louis last week, they played well in that game, but St. Louis's offense is anemic to begin with. This week, I thought they put a lot of pressure on Flacco. The defense played well enough to win. The offense just didn't get it done.
I would agree with you on that, but we're going to go to, the other side of the coin here, the winning team. Robert Hagan, you've also been on the show before. I'm sure you're feeling really good right now because your team really had to have that win to have any thoughts of doing anything this season.
It's great to get off the Owen train, I got to catch different pieces of the start of the game, but to see a stat that, that John Harbaugh, 112 games at 0 and never have made it to 0-4. So it's huge. So it's great to get off that losing train right now. So good to have a win. At least it was at home, not at home, but there at Heinz Field. And Mike and I have talked many times. And when it comes to Pittsburgh, Baltimore, it's going to be a close game no matter what happens. Whoever's quarterback and who's not quarterback.
Robert,
sorry guys, I'm getting razzed by all the people down here bowling tonight. So
I just wanted to say, Robert, congratulations to Jerome Bettis and his halftime ring Hall of Fame.
Oh heck yeah! I'm a big
congratulations, Bettis.
I do like the bus, so I'm a huge fan. Glad to see him get in the Hall of Fame, and so I'm excited about that. So, I jumped in on the call a few minutes ago and realized that, I was kind of questioning those 2 4th down plays, in overtime. So, makes me wonder about Tomlin also. You guys were bringing up Tomlin. Do I put
what I want to know? I want to know. It's irrelevant now, but. If I'm you, are you doing that fake field goal?
I think I give the chance to Scobie. I'm very shocked.
I'm talking about your team on that fake field goal. Do you run that?
I don't think you run it. I really don't. I think, I think you go for the field goal in that position. But, we go back to the whole thing. When those two teams meet, it is going to be a dogfight. And so anything that, John Harbaugh can pull out of his hat to do, to make the game totally different, I'm a big proponent of, but I can't see going and taking that field goal.
I thought they should have put points on the board there, too. It was a situation where you had seen the Steelers were doing virtually nothing in the second half other than the turnover conversion for a touchdown at the beginning of the half. And in that point, you get yourself within 3 points. The Steelers have been punting throughout the entire second half you got to put the points on the board, especially in this game. You make a play like that. That should have been the turning point in the game right there for Pittsburgh. I think if Scobie converts either of those prior two field goals, that probably changes the outcome. It doesn't definitely, but it certainly leans towards it.
I agree with that 100%. Like, I mean, you always look at this team and them being in the thick of it, both teams, and I think you've got to take your chances, Toby. I mean, as much as I'm a Ravens fan at heart, that it's a huge thing, and on the other hand, I'm glad he missed. Didn't get the chances. He went 2 for 4 tonight in field goals when they let him kick. And so huge. It's very huge, but excited for the win. That's what we needed. So,
yeah, there's a report just in. Josh Scobie missed those field goals to allow the game to go to overtime, so that Antonio Brown could get his 5th catch of the game.
A team player there.
Yeah, I mean, Mike. So does Scobie's fired tomorrow, right?
I think if you don't allow him to kick that ball in overtime from 50 yards, and you've got $3.4 million on your books, how can you possibly bring him back tomorrow? Tomlin basically made the statement by not letting him come out and kick that ball. I think, of course, he's gone, but I still believe he should have had a chance to take that kick.
I mean, what do you got? Randy and Gary? You guys haven't even been able to talk here. Do you side on Mike's point of you give him that last shot, or was Pittsburgh right at that point? Because the whole reason they've been going for 2, this whole thing about going for 2 is because Scobie's been bad.
I think if you have a rookie field goal kicker, then yeah, you definitely go for that, just because his confidence is rattled and you don't think he's going to bounce back. But you do have Scobie out there. He is a veteran. He's been there before. But Sean, you and I were talking about it as it happened, and I knew they were going to go for it on 4th because of the 2 misses. And I thought the play call was okay, minus the fact that they threw it on the right side of the field instead of the left, so Vick would have had to turn his body, which they talk about in the broadcast how he doesn't get quite fully turned. I mean, it was a perfect play call because the guy ends up being wide open. Vick makes a terrible throw because he can't quite turn. But I with it being Scobie and him being a veteran, I think you do kick it there. But I think everyone now jumps on it because the 4th down wasn't converted.
Yeah, Michael Vick it proved tonight that he can run, and he, even as old as he is, he can still run down the field and he can make plays. And I don't think that the Baltimore defense is one of the best defenses in the league. So saying that, I mean, I definitely can understand Tomlin's decision to try the 4th down. I think he figured we have a better opportunity with a 4th down play here, with trusting Michael Vick running, passing, than we do with a guy that has not been able to connect with anything field goal wise. It's just, to me, I think Tomlin had to make this decision based on the talent level he had on the field, and he trusted Michael Vick with it.
And I'm going to chime in for a second too. And I'm thinking, you talked about that, and I agree. Baltimore, the defense is not like it used to be, and that backfield, defensive backfield is just beat up. I don't think we really have anybody there anymore that's going to be that standout player, and that's where we, lacked in the first 3 games. I've got to give it to the defense for Pittsburgh tonight. Sacking Flacco 5 or 6 times tonight, so it's huge. But the defense has got to really step up. I think with Baltimore, if we want to even continue to move down this and give some protection to Flacco too.
I look at, just one more time on one last thing on the option there, the 4th down option. You've got a quarterback who last year, of all the quarterbacks who threw at least 100 passes, was the lowest rated quarterback in the NFL. And you're entrusting him to make a play on 4th down on 1 week's preparation in overtime against your bitter division rivals, or you can have a kicker who's been in the league for 13 years come out there and try to redeem himself. I stand by my decision that it was the wrong decision.
Yeah, and I think you're fair with saying that. I can totally come from your point and understand that. I think I just sometimes I kind of put myself in the coach's shoes, and I kind of look at Tomlin. And my thing is, and it's always been this: you go by the talent that you got, and Scobie has just not been a talent, not just this game, for every game he's been with Pittsburgh. And they should have made that decision to change kickers a while ago. I get salary cap reasons and all that, but man, this just proves that Scobie's done. He's obviously done.
Well, and this is their third kicker too. They've lost 2 of them in the preseason, so they're on kicker number 3. I guess it's on to kicker number 4.
That's tough right there. But,
is Richie Cunningham still around?
Where's Billy Cundiff?
Yeah, exactly.
I'd bring back Gary Anderson.
Yeah, there you go. He's probably still good, honestly.
Morton Anderson. We'll start naming kickers. Anyway, Mike Vanderjag's still around somewhere. But anyway, looking forward now, Mike. How do you feel going forward with Vick? I mean, he had a pretty good game. I mean, he didn't, I don't think he didn't do anything totally ridiculous. They also kind of tiered the game plan so that he wouldn't either, as you kind of noted. Flacco's the one that was, throwing interceptions, and he had the bad fumble and everything. Do you feel any kind of confidence going forward with Vick that the team can maybe go 500 while Big Ben's out or anything like that?
Well, I would love to see them go 500. But, next week they go on the road at San Diego, and West Coast, East Coast to West Coast games have always been a problem for Pittsburgh as well as any other team going. And San Diego's, they're probably a 500 team in their own right, but at the same time, that's a game that I would not be surprised at all if the Steelers lost. And, then you've got a couple division games. You got an improved Oakland team, stuck in there. I'd love to see him go 500 because I think if he can, and Roethlisberger can be on the short end of the 4-week return time as opposed to the long end of the 6-week return time, then you have a chance to, make a season out of it. But, Vic didn't make any mistakes, like you said, other than the bad throw at the end of the game there. He didn't turn the ball over. But I've seen what Michael Vick's capable of, the bad Michael Vick, and I got to be honest, I'm a little bit terrified that going forward we have to rely on him to begin with. But you play the hand you're dealt, and that's what they've got. But I would not be shocked if the Steelers are 2-3 after next week.
All right, going to you, Robert. The Ravens, obviously, now 1-3. They escaped the 0-4, which would have put them in a really bad position of, thinking anything past just the season would be a real difficult task. Do you feel any sort of confidence after this big win against a division rival that perhaps maybe you can still make a run for the playoffs, or it's just a one-time thing for the team, or?
Well, I think it lit a fire a little bit tonight. Always going against Pittsburgh, it pumps them up a little bit. But like I said a little while ago, the big thing we've got to really work on is that defensive backfield. It was nice to see Forsett finally get a decent. He was 27 carries for 150 yards. So it's good to finally see him step it up a little bit. A little concerned about Campanaro and Smith, but this might be the spark we need to get going. We've got the division opponent again next week with Cleveland coming to M&T, so I think it's what we needed. So if we can get out, also do a 2-3, and with Mike saying, it's difficult for Pittsburgh traveling out, it might tighten things up. But right now, you look at Cincinnati, and they've got a pretty good hold on what's happening in the AFC North.
All right, fair enough. Well, thank you guys for coming on and giving us a fan perspective of both teams. You guys are obviously welcome back anytime, but we got to move on to previewing the games, but thank you.
Steelers-Ravens, Week 16.
Exactly, Week 13, we'll be back.
We'll see if that game matters.
Yes, and it probably will. It might, I think it might be the game of the week that week. So
probably.
All right, thank you.
This is certainly the best TNF game we've had so far this year. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I agree, hands down.
All right, Robert, go throw some strikes.
I'm trying. Actually, I'm bowling while we're doing it, and I've had to run down and throw a couple balls. I've only had to throw 3 balls, so I'm on a turkey, and I'm up again. So, hey, thanks for letting me chime in, and we'll talk with you again. Thanks.
Later, guys.
Thanks, Rob.
Well,
all right.
Well, that was a breakdown of Thursday Night Football, but let's move on to the games that still have yet to be played. And the first one, bright and early at 9:30 in the morning, 6:30 for old Randy over there, 8:30 for Gary. We are going to be doing our first ever live broadcast of a game on Rabble.tv. That's the name of the website, Rabble, RABBLE.tv. Just search W2M Network. We are there. You'll see the broadcast. It's called Football to Football Broadcast, Jets versus Dolphins. Click on it, and you can hear us, doing play-by-play analysis and all that stuff for the game. Hopefully we aren't too bad. There's also an iOS and Android app you can download, and you can easily do the same thing on that too. You can comment on there and, chat with us while the game's going on. Tell us whether, you can like or dislike what, the show itself and all that stuff. So, and it's a, pop in, pop out kind of thing. If you don't have to be there the whole time. You can come in and out as much as you want. The only thing that kind of stinks is that apparently our broadcasts will be on a delay, just like when anybody listens to this live, there's always a delay. So it's like a play behind the actual TV. So, it's up to you whether you want to sync it with us or just kind of listen while the game is going on. I was doing that today while the TNF game was going on. So hopefully you'll be there checking us out. This is going to be a new thing for us, hopefully, that we can do sort of regularly. How are you guys feeling about that? Nervous or excited or?
Slightly nervous now, but the fact that, I'm going to have to get up at like 5 in the morning to start getting prep done for this game, I don't think I'll have time to be nervous when it actually happens.
Well, at least for you, you're covering your team that you watch all the time.
Yes.
So it's a lot easier for you than say like, I live here in Miami, but I hardly ever listen to the sports radio because I don't care necessarily about what they're saying about the Dolphins. And, for Gary, it's a whole different thing because, Dolphins are like, nothing for him. So, it's going to be fun on all of our parts because we'll have different kinds of prep and everything. So we'll see how it goes. But speaking of the game itself, Randy, obviously London game, different feel to it, being in a stadium that's obviously not made for that kind of football. The grass kind of starts getting messed up, and you'll start seeing parts of the field come up, and it gets all nasty and everything. Do you think the travel is going to be an issue?
Yeah, travel is going to be an issue. Like you said, the field's going to be an issue. Definitely, it comes down to your running game, which is why I kind of like the Jets in this matchup. Chris Ivory should be back after taking last week off. So the Jets have the advantage there. Miami's just looked completely terrible this season so far. Hell, they made Blake Bortles and Kirk Cousins both look pretty good. Tyrod Taylor completely destroyed them last week, so the defense is in shambles. So look for Fitzpatrick and the Jets to kind of bounce back from what they did last week and have an impressive going on Sunday.
What do you think, Gary? You think the travel and all that stuff, the field, all those kinds of things that a lot of times you don't worry about when you're playing in the United States, is that going to be a factor for one of the teams? Or?
I think, it affects them the same. It really does. People try to make a big deal about it, but, it's not like the one of these teams is a London-based team, so both of them are traveling, both of them are having to get used to the same field, so I don't think it's a big deal.
I mean, to be fair, you can make trips from either Miami or New York to London. So it's not like one of them's having to really make an extra flight to get over there. It's just sort of a little bit different distance and all that kind of stuff. To me, I think I'd be more worried about the field because it does get messed up, having watched quite a few games from there. And just watching the difference, then watching a soccer team try to play on that pitch a week later or a couple days later, how terrible it is for them, how much they fall over and stuff, how much it does to that field when football is no longer being played on it. It's quite a contrast and kind of fun to see. Like Randy said, it's a lot of times the teams win if their running game is doing well. Because it's going to be hard to do the passing game, and that's why we have the question of over under 500 passing yards total between the two teams. Gary, what do you think?
Between the two teams, I mean, I'm going to go. I'll say under. I think that they're going to try to focus on but I think both teams are going to try to run the ball a little bit here. I think the Jets, they rely a lot on their running game, and I think that's why they're going to be trying to use it as much as they can. So I think that they're both going to try to get something done in the running game.
Certainly can't have Fitzpatrick throw it 58 times again.
No,
absolutely. He's not going to throw it 58 times. But I will say the Dolphins' defense, like I said earlier, has looked terrible against the pass. So look for Fitzpatrick to look a bit better than last week, but. It might even be less than half as many throws for Fitzpatrick this week than last week. Chris Ivory's going to get going. Blau Powell might do it a little bit more. I'm definitely taking the under on this as well. The Jets' passing defense is going to make Tannehill dump it down a lot, I think. So not a lot of passing yards there. So maybe even under 400 in this game.
I'm going to go with the under as well. I mean, like I said last week, Tannehill got a lot of his yardage and everything in garbage time once Buffalo had already been up a lot. And they had to throw, pretty much. And he was basically connecting on almost anything because Buffalo was giving him the whole field because it didn't matter. They were going to have to do ridiculous stuff to try to get back in that game. So, I mean, credit to him for some of the tough throws he did have to make when they got to the end zone and whatnot, but still, it was really just a lot of garbage stuff for Tannehill. And the Jets defense, I mean, that's what they do. They make it tough on you in the passing game. Not that. I mean, who did they? Now I'm blanking on who they played last week.
Who are you talking about? The Jets played the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Bradford, it's not like he had this terrific game or anything, so I would expect something similar for Tannehill, unless all of a sudden the Dolphins' defense wakes up, which I guess is possible against Fitzpatrick because, some of those guys have played him before when he was with the Bills, but, that's going to be one of those things that it depends, and I do wonder if maybe the field and all the different climate and everything might help the Dolphins a little bit, but I'd still have the Jets in this, considering that they're coming off the loss. They're going to want to rebound here. The Dolphins really need to win, but they showed that even at home, it didn't matter. They got whooped by Buffalo. So, what do you think? I mean, Randy already gave his prediction. Or are you going the same way here, Gary?
No, I'm going Jets. To me personally, the Dolphins have just struggled and defensively, and offensively, they've had a few of their own struggles on that side of the ball. And, despite some of the things the Jets have dealt with, I think the Jets will take care of business here. I think that they lost a game last week they shouldn't have, and they're ready to win.
I would agree there. So let's move on to the next game. We have a few, or at least we have one less game we have to talk about here as my computer decides it wants to do the normal freaking out thing. But let's move ahead to talking about the other team in Florida. They are visiting the Indianapolis Colts, who came off that barn burner of a game against Tennessee. Now, all of a sudden here, on Tuesday, there was word that the Colts had signed a quarterback to the practice squad. Then all of a sudden, there's a shoulder injury that Andrew Luck has, and he is legit questionable for this game. They're worried about how he's going to perform in practice on Friday, and then they have a walkthrough obviously on Saturday, and then they got to decide if he plays. I'd assume if he plays, but now my question that I had is obviously different now that Andrew Luck is obviously going to have a shoulder issue. But do you think that affects him to where he still has the interception problem where he throws the 2 interceptions that he's been kind of having the last couple games? So over under 1.5 interceptions, Randy.
Yeah, I just want to apologize to Andrew Luck. I made a big move in one of my fantasy leagues this week where I had Big Ben who got hurt, so I traded to get Andrew Luck to cover those 6 weeks, and 2 hours later this news popped. So this is my fault, and I am sincerely sorry to Luck. But listen, if he does play, the interceptions are a problem, but Jacksonville's defense is not that great, especially against the pass. So I think maybe 1-2 interceptions, but a lot better performance from Luck, again, if he is healthy, which I'm hoping he is.
Yeah, I'm going over for sure on this because if he plays at all, and man, I would be very concerned about playing him with an injury like this, especially to his throwing shoulder. That's not a good deal. I would rest him, even though, you don't want to rest one of the better quarterbacks in the league. You got to give him a break, especially playing a defense that's not that great. Matt Hasselbeck can at least dink and dunk and do the job for you if that's all you trust him to do. But yeah, if he plays, he's going to have interceptions.
I would say that, but they're also playing Jacksonville, and Brady made them look ridiculous last week, and then also you have. They didn't look that. They looked decent enough against Cam Newton, but there was also drops in that game. There was also the fact that Cam was still trying to find his footing without the class of receivers he's used to having. So, with the Colts having who they have, I think this is one of those where the other guys step up. I think Gore could have a pretty good game and kind of protect Luck a bit. I think Andre Johnson could do well in this game. Moncrief, I think, is one to watch because he's going to be able to get down the field on him. T.Y. Hilton as well. I think he'll finally be healthy here. So I think even if Luck plays, you can kind of have a different game plan where you try to use your weapons in a different way where Luck is not having to throw down the field and everything. And you can dink and dunk with his offense, and I'm sure Andre Johnson would appreciate not having to run down the field when he seems to really not be able to do that much anymore.
I just have fear because of what we saw Drew Brees deal with in Week 2. That scares me. The Andrew Luck could look the same way.
So does that make your prediction any different here? Is you going to take any kind of a flyer on Jacksonville maybe?
No, even if Matt Hasselbeck plays, I'm taking the Colts.
Yeah, same here. I just think the talent level is going to exceed no matter what.
I would agree with you. I'm going to go with the Colts. I do think Andrew Luck winds up playing, though. I think he's just a competitor. He's not going to want to go out there and have Matt Hasselbeck possibly put him in a hole where they're 1-3. And they've got Houston next week on Thursday Night Football, so we'll get to watch them again, hopefully. And Andrew Luck is healthy by then, and we'll be able to see a much different Colts team. So. Moving on to the New York Giants going against the Buffalo Bills here. This is Randy's first game that he has to cover by himself. And, Randy brings up a good point that what did everyone miss with Tyrod Taylor? He was a 6th-round pick in 2011 by Baltimore. Obviously, he was behind Joe Flacco in all those years. And Joe Flacco has that ridiculous playoff record. As much as we want to malign him for making mistakes and everything, he does show up when in the big games when it matters. And, he did win a Super Bowl and everything after all. Gary, what do you What do you think they might have missed here with Tyrod Taylor? Is it because he was just behind a QB that you knew he was going to start?
Exactly. I think that's what it really boils down to. They really didn't know what they had in Tyrod Taylor. I think they knew a little bit, but you really don't know about any player until they actually have game action. That's just the bottom line. Preseason doesn't prove much to you because of the talent level that's on the field during preseason games. So I think if Baltimore would have had a second shot at keeping Tyrod Taylor after seeing what he's done in Buffalo, I'm sure they would have, but you can never know that until you got a guy on the field.
Randy?
Yeah, it's one of those interesting things. I just wanted to bring it up because I knew he had been in the league for a little bit, but I didn't realize it was 2011 is how long he's been in this league, and now all of a sudden he's breaking out, in his first big chance. But in an era where we see, now I'm blanking on his name, Quinn, right? Who am I thinking of? The old Packers backup.
Flynn?
Flynn.
Yeah, Flynn.
I was thinking Quinn. But yeah, when we see Flynn go out there, have one game, and all of a sudden gets all this crazy money, it's just surprising that 5 years later we're finally realizing that Tyrod Taylor has enough talent to be a starting quarterback. So it's just one of those weird things where it's like, I love the commercial with Luke McCown about how like those backup generators, just all they need is a chance. And here you go with Tyrod Taylor. He got a chance and he's making the best of it. He's just looking awesome right now for Buffalo.
Yeah, we've seen this. This is a storyline that's happened plenty of times in the NFL. You could even point at Tom Brady. I mean, what if Drew Bledsoe would have been healthy? Tom Brady wouldn't have been around for a little bit longer.
What if the Packers never got rid of Brett Favre when they did?
Exactly. Tony Romo's another good example. I mean, he was not really he'd been in the league for, I think, 2 or 3 years until he got a chance to start.
Right. Yeah, I think it was, was it 09 when he made his first start?
Believe so. But, I mean, he had been around, he'd
been around since 06, so yeah, you were right, 3 years. That's crazy. But, that's the thing, like, who knows if we had somebody else besides Parcells, if he would have even been known at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes on the coach too, and good on Rex Ryan for recognizing that when you had Matt Castle, a guy that's sort of been proven, and then he happened to just have a bad training camp, and you also had EJ Manuel, who was supposed to be your number one guy. You drafted him to be, obviously different coach had drafted him, and then Tyrod Taylor's there, and he outshines everybody else, and look what he's doing. So that being said, when you're looking at this team for the Giants, or we already just talked about the Jets, and of course Buffalo, also a New York team. True or false? There will be more than one team out of the state of New York to make the playoffs this season, Randy.
I'm going to say true, because the NFC East is such in shambles right now that the Giants seem to be the healthiest team, which kind of, that's all you need to be in that division right now. Yes, Victor Cruz re-injured himself, but they haven't been relying on him anyway. So that division's up for grabs. Buffalo looks way better than any of us really gave them credit for, so they're in a hunt for a wild card. And then you also have the Jets, who are kind of in that same boat, maybe right on the edge of Buffalo. I don't think both wild cards come out of New York, but definitely one of them do. And then the Giants, all of a sudden, can look like a playoff contender in the NFC. So I'm going to say true.
I think at least two of these teams make the playoffs, and neither of them are in the NFC.
So you're saying Jets and Bills?
Jets and Bills. The Giants, they'll stick around for a little while, but I still, people are selling the Eagles short. The Eagles and the Giants quickly.
I think Washington has a shot against Philadelphia in the next game we're going to talk about, because it's division and they always play each other rough. So, but speaking about this guy, it's so hard because we talked about this. The Giants are definitely the team that you watch out for now. But the Eagles are also, they got that one win under them. Let's see if that lights a fire under them. The Cowboys definitely, again, just like last week, have a shot here of winning, even with Drew Brees playing. So, they could still be in the hunt. So that's going to come down to the wire, as has been for many of the last few years with that division. It's quite possible the Giants get in. It's quite possible they don't. I think the Buffalo really has a shot at the wild card, and so the thing is they're both in the same division, so that's going to be really. To say that both of them out of that division are going to get both of those wild cards. It's not a stretch, but I'm trying to think of the only other team that might give them an issue is I guess Oakland over there in the West, because everybody else, it's really the AFC's top 3 teams. You got the Bengals right now, and you've got Denver, and then kind of everybody else at this point. So I guess you might be right, Gary. You could get 3 teams out of that division. Damn, it's so hard. I'm gonna wind up saying I'm gonna go with you, Gary, but I don't feel that confident about it. Moving on though to the Eagles visiting Maryland. Now here's the deal with this game. Because of the hurricane, is it Hurricane? What the hell? Hurricane Joaquin or?
Yeah.
What the hell the name of the hurricane is? Okay.
Hey, we just know football. We don't know weather.
Yeah.
So whatever the name of the name of the hurricane is, it might cause a cancellation of this game because it's supposed to wreck the Eastern Seaboard. And apparently they've already called a state of emergency in New Jersey and all this. So who knows what's going to happen with that. But if the game does take place in Washington, because I think that if it takes place at a neutral ground, it might benefit the Eagles a bit more. My question, though, is can Sam Bradford put the team on his back? Because Washington is 3rd in the league at stopping the run and 2nd in total defense. And then we've already seen how sometimes, and it looks like DeMarco Murray's going to be back, when Murray's in there, that run is terrible. You think Sam Bradford can go on this Washington defense and perform pretty well, or do we think we see the Eagles that we have really where they kind of just get through it and they aren't really that impressive?
I want to answer. I want to answer that question, but did we pick the previous game? I don't know if anybody chose who they were.
Oh crap! Yeah, we didn't.
I'm going to go Buffalo.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to say Buffalo as well.
Easy enough. So, I don't mean to butt in front of Randy, but I'll just go ahead and say my piece on Bradford. I think Bradford is still going to have to get his feet underneath him. I don't know. After this last game against the Jets, it wasn't about him winning that game. And I think he can have some success against the Washington Redskins defense because they're not exactly a top-notch defense. They still have their struggles. But to me, personally, I still don't see him burning up the field yet. I don't think he's going to be able to get this team on his back alone. It's going to take the running game to help Bradford.
Yeah, the running game is going to help, and the running game is going to have to help through the air as well. I think some more dump-offs to DeMarco Murray and Darren Sproles and stuff will definitely allow Sam Bradford to kind of get more into a role. They need to open the field that way and get pressure from the running backs through the passing game first, because Washington really does have a good defense, and with the weather being the way it's looking like it could be, even if the game gets played, the ground's probably going to be soaked and the rain's probably coming down hard and lots of wind and all of that. So it's definitely, for both teams, going to have to come down to the running game for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm not looking at our sheet right now, but looking at the running back situation, whose running backs do you trust more? Matt Jones, that kid.
You're not looking at the sheet, but that's my question.
Okay. Go ahead,
Fact or fiction: Matt Jones and Alfred Morris outdo Ryan Matthews and DeMarco Murray in this game.
Come on, Gary, you're going for it. Answer it.
Okay. My personal prediction on this is we've seen the Eagles' offensive line struggle a little bit. And not that I think that the Redskins' offensive line is game busters, but I have a feeling Matt Jones is going to burn this team up. I think this kid is for real. Alfred Morris is a great 1-2 punch with him. The Sproles will get his. DeMarco Murray will continue to struggle. And Matthews will have a decent day. But I'm going for the Redskins, guys. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I saw this question that you had on there too, Sean, and I think you missed the two key guys on this on both sides. I think Darren Sproles has a big game again coming out through the passing game and stuff. And don't sleep on this Chris Thompson kid from Washington. He is breaking out as their third down back. He catches the ball out of the backfield too, has some pretty decent speed. And with Washington kind of just poo-pooing Alfred Morris lately, I think it's going to turn into the Matt Jones and Chris Thompson show in Washington.
Well, either way, it's still Washington running backs against Eagles running backs. Which ones are you taking?
I would take the Eagles.
All right, I'm gonna say that that's a reason why I have Washington winning this game, is because Washington's running backs are going to outdo that. They're going to sack Bradford. They're going to control him. It's going to be a problem. Eagles offense is not going to run the way Chip Kelly wants it, and we've seen this defense can be had. Now, obviously, you don't have a dynamite quarterback throwing for Washington, but they do have some decent talent. Deshaun Jackson, I think he's back at practice, but I don't know that he's going to be ready for this game. I'm sure he would love to burn his old team, though.
He's listed as questionable right now.
So if he plays, though, that's he has an extra motivating factor. That's a weapon they haven't had for pretty much the entire season. And Jordan Reed's pretty much doing his thing. You got Garcon over there, kind of being pretty decent. So I don't know. I think it's a little bit of home cooking, a little bit of defense. I got Washington in this game.
Washington is 2-11 in division play since the start of 2013, tied for the worst with the Buccaneers. That's why I go with Philadelphia.
I've got to go Philly here. I know I said a lot of great things about Washington, but I think it's going to be a heartbreak game for them.
All right, fair enough. So I finally get a break of not having to watch the Carolina Panthers, but Randy has to do that. He gets to watch them go to Tampa Bay. What are your... I meant to ask this question after the game last week when we were reviewing, and I completely forgot. It was like down the list there of things. This thing about... It's never struck me in the NFL, the whole star system, if it existed, if it doesn't. This is the first we've ever really heard about it. It's one of those things that's like whispered in the NFL, but I don't think we've ever heard somebody say, oh, because I've been in the league this long, I got this call, as opposed to in the NBA where you automatically know Tim Duncan rolls down and complains, he's getting that call. LeBron rolls down the lane, he gets bumped, he's getting the call. I can't imagine Cam's just going to go on a press conference and lie like that. I don't know. It's possible that was said, but I just think it's a little bit to do about nothing, honestly.
I think it was definitely said, but I don't think it was meant as a serious, well, if you were older, you would get the call. I think Ed was flipping him shit. Cam was bitching about stuff and wanting a call that the NFL and Head Hockey have both come out saying was not the call that should have been made. They said Ed Hockey was correct in the no call, and Ed just said, "Hey, listen, just pulling his chain a little bit. It's like, well, if you're older, you may have got that call." Just giving him a good little rib, and Cam Newton took it personal and got all upset about it, and still won't drop it. And he needs to focus on this next game, but I just think it was one of those. I think it was Steve Young talked about it earlier this week that I saw on some TV show where it's like, listen, he misses the days where you could joke about things with refs during the game, and everyone's so worried about collusion and personable refs that they've kind of gotten away from it. But here you are with Ed just trying to joke around with Cam, and Cam took it the wrong way. Is my opinion.
I'm right there with you. I agree. It's all about kidding around, and let's just be honest. Cam Newton's an emotional guy. There's a lot of guys out there that like him, and he took it to heart. And you can't do that. Just like he jokes around with his teammates. Hey, Ed Hockey's doing the same with him.
So who does have the better game? We've seen Cam has some lights out games so far. Does he continue that here against the Tampa Bay defense that's been, pretty bad? Or does Jameis Winston finally have a pretty big game?
I'm in the boat.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm in the boat of Cam Newton right now. I think the guy, hasn't had a stellar year yet, but man, the guy has been producing, and Winston's young. He's still going to have the issues of a rookie, getting used to certain things happening, and not only that, I think the Panthers' defense is better. So that leads me to say Cam.
I think it's really close. Cam is definitely having a better year. He definitely needs a running game to start backing him up a little bit more. I know Jonathan Stewart finally was the leading rusher on the team last week. They need that again. But I'm going to give it to Winston here. I think he starts connecting with Evans even more. Vincent Jackson should have a good game here. Yes, he's missing his tight end still, and that creates a hole. But no, I think Winston, just by a small margin, has a better game than Cam Newton.
I think Carolina's had an interception in every single one of their games so far. I see that continuing here with Winston. He's going to throw one. It's going to cause him problems. We'll see Jared Allen. So, is he going to be a factor here on that defensive line? I think Carolina's going to take this one pretty handily, honestly.
Yeah, fair enough. I got Carolina for me too, though.
Tampa Bay is 2-11 in division play, tied with Washington in the same stat I just gave you. But I'm taking Tampa Bay at home. I'm going to take the upset.
All right, fair enough. We've not both taken one. Gary's going to have to find one in there.
Yeah.
So, Atlanta played one Texas team last week. Now they get to play Houston at home in Atlanta, where they are usually wonderful. Not that they didn't look that bad in Dallas either, but Houston's defense is pretty tough, especially that front four, and the corners are pretty decent as well. So they might, Jonathan Joseph might give Julio Jones a couple of issues, but every game this season, Julio Jones has had at least 130 yards receiving. Is Houston's defense the first one to hold him under that?
No, I don't think so. And not because I think their defense is bad or anything. It's just because Atlanta's offense goes through Julio Jones more than any other offense goes through any other player. They rely on Julio Jones completely and utterly, and on a bad day, he's going to get 130 receiving yards. So I say no, they're not going to be able to hold him down.
I agree. Julio's just playing lights out. There's no way they're going to hold him.
I'm going to say they don't either, but I'd be careful. I don't think Devonta Freeman or Tevin Coleman is going to be running roughshod all over this Houston defense either. So they're not going to have the play-action pass or that kind of thing. I think Ryan's going to have to start finding some other receivers in this game than necessarily I think they're going to try a few different things to try to hold Julio. I know they move him around and stuff, but it's quite possible it could happen here. What's more likely, though? Houston's defense has more sacks, or Matt Ryan throws more touchdowns?
I'm going Matt Ryan throwing more touchdowns.
See if I can find how many sacks. They have 4 sacks so far. So I'm going to say Matt Ryan has more touchdowns.
I'm going to say Houston has more sacks. We'll see how that goes.
I hope you're right. I want to see J.J. Watt really get on fire. He's done okay this year, but I want to see him on fire, and it'd be nice to see him get on fire in this game.
I think Clowney needs to start showing that he was worth that number 1 pick, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. That would help Watt.
He's been taken out a lot in games. It's been J.J. Watt and Wilfork's kind of been clogging the middle, but it's, Clowney's kind of been not really doing a whole lot, so let's see. But I think in this game, though, Atlanta's at home. So hard to pick against them. I'm going to say Atlanta.
Yeah, me too.
Atlanta.
Sweet. Well, we can move on to another game, which I'm sure Randy is just looking forward to with so many just jitters. But I mean,
we can tell who picked what games for who on this week. Thanks, Sean.
Hey, I'm only going by the fact of what happened last week. So either way, we do know that Cutler is they're expecting that he might play. So it could be that they are competitive here. Alshon Jeffrey is also expected to play, which makes a big deal there for Cutler. Had it been Jimmy Clausen, I don't think it makes a difference. How excited about the future? I mean, we kind of talked about this on the Monday show, but how excited about the future should the Raiders really be?
I think they should be super excited. As far as maybe for the rest of this season, kind of hold expectations down just a little bit. They are a very young team, and getting into the playoff hunt, come the last few weeks is going to be difficult for them. They're going to have their slumps and such. But in like the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years, this is going to be a very competitive team and a Super Bowl contender in my eyes.
As I told a good friend of all of ours, Christopher Hale, I think that they're in a great spot in 2 years for them to be true contenders for the playoffs. I'm not saying Super Bowl, but I'm saying playoffs because your young team is surrounded by young guys that actually have talent, and plus you've got a franchise quarterback that I think is just going to get better.
I would agree. Oakland is going to be something. I think they can be something this year. I think they can definitely contend in that division that, other than the Broncos, have all kind of been middling there. San Diego's lost a couple. So have the Chiefs. That they both haven't looked that great in their games. Oakland, got torched by Cincinnati, but they've been pretty decent these last few, weeks. So, I mean, and they got a team in Chicago that's sort of reeling, especially if Cutler doesn't play. That's another win, and you're looking at, 3-1 going forward? So, I mean, if you're a Raider fan, be excited, I think, even about this season. But looking at the game itself, over-under, 100 receiving yards for Alshon Jeffrey in this game. Obviously, it depends on... I think if it's Cutler, it's over.
I think if it's either, it's over, because I think Oakland jumps out in this game. They take a pretty sizable lead. Chicago's just going to be trying to throw it and catch it up.
Hold on. Didn't you just say on the review, or the recap, that they punted on every drive? So you're going to tell me in a week Jimmy Clausen's all of a sudden better?
No, I didn't say he's better, but they're going to be throwing the ball. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to say he's going to have 4 touchdowns. They're not going to have a lot of points. But there's going to be a lot of junk time receiving yards. Oakland's defense is not Seattle's defense by any stretch of the mean. So this is completely different. I'm not. Trust me, when we get to the prediction, I'll tell you exactly what I think of the Chicago Bears. But we're talking 100 receiving yards for their best receiver who wasn't on the field last week.
Yeah, Jeffrey's going to get open compared to Eddie Royal. Not going to get open probably just against average corners. So I could definitely see that. I'm going to go over on it as well.
Yeah, I'll go over if it's Cutler. I do not trust Jimmy Clausen at all. But the prediction now, guys. I mean, even with Cutler, I just don't trust the guy. He winds up losing the game for you at some point. I mean, I'm sure that will make Forte a better option for them and stuff. So, I mean, I'm sure Forte should have a better game. I think it is at Soldier Field, though. But I think Oakland can come in and get the win.
Yeah, I'm taking Oakland easily. I think Jay Cutler starts the game and leaves in the second quarter when they're down 3 touchdowns, and his back starts hurting again.
Yeah, exactly what Randy said. I think that's the definite point. You're going to see this team struggle. My prediction will go by Chris Berman, and I'll say the Raiders.
Always nice to go by Chris Berman when you can, I guess. So, moving on to another AFC West team. They are visiting the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals. We have seen Kansas City get torched the last 2 weeks, at least in touchdowns. Andy Dalton proves he is finally a dependable QB by how he has played, not only in the past few weeks, but in this game as well.
Yeah, I think he is, at least, I mean, we're going to say this all year in the regular season. He still has to prove it in the playoffs and all of that, but...
Okay, but let's take this from a fantasy perspective then.
No, then absolutely.
Starting every week.
Yeah, he should be at least. He should be one of the top 10, 15 quarterbacks out there every week, just for the fact that he's got AJ Green on the team. So yeah, he should. As far as fantasy goes, he's very dependable, and I was really surprised in one of my leagues that he was still on the free agent wire and was picked up this week. But yeah, he's very dependable.
I think he's a dependable quarterback. I'm not going to go. To me, it's a stretch saying top 10. I'll go top 15. I think that's fair because he is in that echelon of, hey, he can get you some points.
Have quarterbacks that aren't playing right now.
Yeah, and that's true. Right now, I guess you could put him in the top 10 with all the guys absent. I still, I just think Andy Dalton sometimes fails you when you just don't need him to fail you. So, but right now he's good.
He's known to have throw eggs.
Yeah,
sometimes have a game where he just doesn't show up. So.
Yeah, and my fear is this could be that week.
So I asked that question: is this true or false? Kansas City's defense goes a third straight game allowing a QB to throw three touchdowns or more, as Peyton Manning threw 3 touchdowns, Aaron Rodgers threw the 5 touchdowns. Does Andy Dalton continue that trend? Andy?
I'm going to answer this, and it's just going to continue making my Super Bowl prediction look terrible. But yes, I think they do give up 3 touchdowns. Their secondary is still pretty banged up. This is a very solid offense that they're going up against, and it's going to be tough for them to slow it down. I do still believe that they're going to make it to the Super Bowl now as a wild card than the division, but their schedule after this week does get a bit easier, and I think they take advantage of it. But they're going to struggle again this week.
Yeah, I'm kind of on board with Randy on this, and I think the Chiefs will be better than they were last week. Of course, hey, we're talking about the Green Bay offense that is on fire right now. Yeah, sure, Cincinnati's offense is good, but they're not on fire like Green Bay. I think, we'll see Kansas City have some success, but yeah, I still see Andy Dalton having, a great game here.
So, who do you think is going to win?
Give me the Bengals.
I was going to go with the upset here. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go upset here. Kansas City. Why not?
I'm going the Bengals at home. They have looked pretty efficient on offense. Their defense looked good. And, Jeremy Hill could still struggle because Kansas City's defense, at least stopping the run, has not been a problem. But, Giovanni Bernard could come in and be an issue in the passing game, which that's going to be a problem for the Chiefs. So let's move on to the 4 o'clock games, a game that Randy will have to cover here. Cleveland visiting San Diego. 2 teams coming off losses. Everyone is focusing on who's throwing the ball for Cleveland. But as I've mentioned, as Randy has mentioned, I think as the whole world has mentioned, this running game for Cleveland has been absolutely atrocious. Like how I did the double A's there without intending to. What about this running game, Randy?
It definitely needs to get going. As you said in your question, it doesn't matter who's throwing the quarterback. If he has no running game, he's going to have issues. Neither of the 2 quarterbacks on this team are fit to carry a team by themselves. So Crowell and Duke Johnson both need to get the ball rolling here. They need to be clock managers, which is exactly what Hoyer and all of them need right now is just control. I always say Hoyer, it's McCown. God damn it. They're the same damn person, I swear. But anyways, what McCown needs, because he's a game manager and he likes to control the clock, which is why I liked Barnage last week, the tight end. So they need the running game to help them in their dink and dunk offense. But I just don't see it from any of them. Neither of them are running the ball well.
Yeah, they're not. And that's the thing. They've got some talented guys in the backfield on both these teams, but they're just not using them the way they need to use them. So I have a lot of fear when it comes to talking about either team's running game.
Either team?
Yeah. Either team, really. San Diego's hasn't looked that great, honestly.
Just wait.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right. I got Melvin Gordon on a few fantasy teams.
It leads on into the next question here, which... Because, as Gary alluded to, on the other side, Melvin Gordon has had around 50 yards for the first 3 games. That's pretty much been his average around there. Danny Wood has fared better in some games, gotten some touchdowns or whatever, but both of them haven't done that great yardage-wise. So, more total yards to scrimmage, you picking Melvin Gordon or you picking Danny Woodhead?
Gary, you go ahead.
I'm going Gordon. I mean, not that, I don't trust Woodhead. Woodhead's a great
Gary's going to keep
player.
going on this Gordon train.
I am. And I'm going to stick on it because I think they believe in Gordon. I really feel like they do. They haven't proven that they distrust this guy. And Woodhead, his talents really come from the passing game. I mean, sure, he does get his carries, but I think this guy is...
This is total scrimmage yards. This is not asking just running game. This is also including the passing game.
Well, you got me there because I think Woodhead could definitely have a lot of success in this game, especially in the passing game. This is hard for me, Sean. I'll go Woodhead just because of the passing game, but I think if you're talking about running from scrimmage, Gordon's going to get the carries and yards.
For him, I guarantee. Sean, what is yours?
I was going to say Woodhead, and I was really hoping Gary would just keep on with this Gordon thing so that when it doesn't happen next week, I can keep going on this thing that I think, at least for this year, Gordon's just not doing it. But,
well, I am taking Gary's place on that train. Listen, Cleveland is allowing 158 yards rushing per game. It's one of the worst in the league. They suck against that power running style. I watched Chris Ivory just run all over them in that first week. That's what they struggle against. That's what Melvin Gordon's all about. San Diego tried to run the ball last week with him, but they got down so fast that they kind of had to change script. And
that's what happened with Oakland, too. They stuffed them at the beginning, and then, Murray just started, all of a sudden, I guess they got tired, and that's when Murray just took advantage.
So look for Gordon to just pound the rock up the middle with Phillip Rivers throwing it over the top to Keenan Allen and all the receivers there. San Diego is really good at home compared to anywhere else. I know they're a struggling team right now. But my prediction and my guarantee is Melvin Gordon, 150 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game.
Oh, man, I hope you're right.
That's a lot. I'm picking San Diego in this game.
Yeah, same here. Bolts.
All right. Well, moving it along, we have another. We have quite a few 4:00 games.
Yes, the NFL listened to me.
So St. Louis in a divisional game visiting Arizona here. St. Louis has a really tough defense. They're the toughest defense the Cardinals will have played all season. But the Cardinals defense is not a joke either. They've been holding teams down pretty well. Again, they haven't played anybody with a notable. I mean, Drew Brees was hurt in the first game. Then you're playing Jay Cutler, and then he gets hurt in that game or whatever, and then you're playing Colin Kaepernick throwing interceptions. So does Nick Foles become the first QB to throw more than 1 touchdown against that Cardinals D?
No, I don't see it. I mean, it is at Arizona. St. Louis offense has just looked anemic the last couple of weeks. I think it continues here. The rushing game has just been non-existent. Nick Foles does not look comfortable in this offense. He's not really started connecting well with his receivers. So, no, I don't think he throws more than 1.
I don't either. I have no confidence in Foles.
I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Foles doesn't throw 1.
Yeah, me too.
But that leads me on the other side. I just talked up St. Louis's defense. Fact or fiction, St. Louis's defense keeps Arizona's offense in check, meaning Carson Palmer only throws 2 touchdowns, and the running game doesn't go off like last week.
Oof.
I'll say false. I just, not that I don't believe that St. Louis is not a good defense. I've been standing on the tables for these guys because I still believe their defense is talented.
I really want to see Gary now standing on a table talking about St. Louis's defense.
And yeah, it may happen. Get in my soapbox. But you know what? I really feel like that it's just right now Arizona's offense has been able to get through games and being able to show people that, hey, you know, we're not elite, but we're a really good offense, and I think they're going to be able to prevail. I think, let's be honest, St. Louis's defense is going to be on the field a lot more. They're going to tire out. You're going to see some success with Arizona.
Yeah, Sean, do you mind turning on Periscope real quick so we can see Gary hop up on his table?
The one I'm around it with right now is a glass. That's not a good idea.
Keeping him in check is kind of tough as far as 2 touchdowns and go. I think they've really started figuring it out with Fitzgerald in the slot. Ellington might be coming back. I don't know if he's set. He's set as questionable, but if he comes back, that adds more dynamic playmaker for them with Chris Johnson and all of that. I'll say he throws more than 2, so say false for the question, but I think Arizona has a little bit more issues than they've had the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'll say that. I think they don't go completely off. It won't be 40-7 game or whatever, but you do have to wonder if St. Louis's offense is going to cause St. Louis's defense problems because the defense is going to be on the field so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly why I go Cardinals, and I'm agreeing with you guys. This is going to be a low-scoring game.
All right. So, yeah, I've got the Cardinals too at home.
Yeah, sweep it.
All right. Well, moving on to Green Bay. Oh, Lord. If we saw what Arizona did to San Francisco, I'd hate to know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do to San Francisco.
I think in this game we're going to find out who the Green Bay Packers have as backup.
Because it'll be so out of... It'll be so out of whack that
Aaron Rodgers will have his shoulder pads off by halftime. He'll be drinking coffee like, hey guys, what's going on?
So, the bad game for Kaepernick last week. He did have, as much as they got whooped by Pittsburgh in week 2, he did have a pretty decent game. He did have the decent game as we know in the win against Minnesota in week 1. Is it a sign of things to come with him? Or was that just a really bad game for him?
That was definitely a terrible way to start. But I think it's more of a sign of just how bad San Francisco really is. They came out there that first week with Carlos Hyde and surprised all of us against Minnesota and made us kind of go, well, maybe they're good. And the last 2 weeks we finally went, no, we were right. San Francisco sucks. So it's more of a sign as just how terrible San Francisco is more than Kaepernick. But Kaepernick needs to understand he can't just stare at a receiver the entire time and think it's going to work out.
Yeah, I'm with Randy on this. I think Kaepernick's a pretty decent quarterback. I think he's got a lot of talent. I just think that he's still got a learning to do. And when they were really hot and doing so well, he had a talented team around him to help support him. He wasn't having to make all the difficult decisions. Now, a lot of this is on his back. And, hey, with a guy that's still learning in this league, it's not working out.
Yeah, I'm going to err on the side of it was just a bad game for Kaepernick. I mean, I think you can throw a bit against the Packers. I mean, Alex Smith, I think he's better than Alex Smith at least. It just, he's got Carlos Hyde who can run. I think if he just learns from the mistakes that he made against Arizona, he can certainly play much better in this game. I think we get more of a typical Colin Kaepernick game when we're looking at this. But the other one is, Aaron Rodgers had a ridiculous game against the Chiefs on Monday night. Can he repeat that? Over, under the 333 yards and 4.5 touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers.
You know what? I mean, saying somebody's going to throw 5 touchdown passes back-to-back weeks is pretty tough. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers goes over both those numbers.
I'm in agreement with Randy on that, and that's why I'm going to go under here. I don't think he's going to need to be the guy that takes us downfield. I think you're going to see some rushing touchdowns take over for some of those passing TDs.
They're so weird because they stuffed Adrian Peterson, but then Chris Johnson looked like he was CJ2K again. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah.
So
It is. But you're also talking about Adrian Peterson's first game back in the league, and God knows how long it would have been since he had played. So.
right, but I mean, he looked fine last week.
Yeah, but he's had more games under his belt.
So are we all going Packers here?
Yeah.
Kaepernick is 3-0 in his career against the Packers. Make it 3-1. I'm taking the Packers.
Minnesota Vikings visiting Denver. Go into that mile high. How can Denver's defense stop Adrian Peterson? Jamal Charles had a pretty decent game, I thought. But the Lions' rushing game has been pretty woeful. Who did they play in that first game?
Baltimore.
They played Baltimore. Yeah, Forsett didn't do that great either. I think honestly, to me, Teddy Bridgewater has not shown me that he's capable of beating you by himself. They have two of the best corners in the entire game. They have some speedy receivers. No, I mean they have Mike Wallace and then whoever they have over there on the other side, Charles Johnson or whatever. Right?
Yes.
But to me, if I'm Denver, you know what you got in your defense. You keep rushing at Teddy Bridgewater. You use your corners to your advantage, and you stack people in the box. And you tell Teddy Bridgewater, you're going to beat me, because Adrian Peterson sure as hell is not.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, looking at this, man, to me, it feels like a game where Minnesota is going to be down early. But
I'm going to go ahead and ask you this, Gary.
Go ahead.
True or false, Teddy Bridgewater throws more than 150 yards in this game?
I'm going to go false on that. I hate to be that way, but I think that Denver is going to swarm, and I think they're going to make life hard for Teddy Bridgewater in this game. I just don't imagine he's going to have a whole lot of success.
I'm going to say true on that, more so just because of maybe a little bit of junk time, but you guys have both said it exactly right. I think Denver has 7-8 in the box. Most of the game, they say, okay, Teddy, you beat our great cornerbacks going one-on-one against the receivers. You show us that you can beat us because we're not going to let Adrian Peterson do it. But, again, I think Minnesota goes down pretty early and they'll get some junk score or junk yardage in there. But I think it's Denver all the way here. That's my pick.
Yeah,
Denver.
Same here. Yeah, Denver for sure.
All right, so we've got the two night games on separate nights. Dallas visiting New Orleans. We still don't know about Drew Brees. They say that they're expecting that he's going to be good enough to play. What's going on with the Cowboys? I keep hearing whispers of Matt Castle. Is Whedon for sure playing in this game, or?
I don't know. You guys are the Cowboy guys.
Well, I'll tell you this. Whedon's the guy that's had enough of this offense under his belt. I just don't imagine they're going to throw Castle in here with like 2 weeks of the offense and just trying to get him to cram it all in. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the coaching staff still trusts Whedon to get the job done. They realize some of the things maybe they did wrong with him last week. Maybe they asked him to do some things that he should have been able to get a little free will instead of just going by what they said. So, no, I don't think it's Castle's time.
My question was, if, let's say Breeze is out. We saw what Luke McCown did. We saw Whedon. Luke McCown obviously had a better game overall. Because he didn't have the rushing attack that Dallas had for that first half. Who is the better quarterback, McCown or Whedon?
I'll give it to Whedon. I liked what I saw from Whedon a little bit. Yes, it's super check down, everything within like 10, 15 yards. But other than the one big mistake, the interception he threw last week, I thought, he kept the offense under control. He never, try to go out of his comfort zone, and I think that's what Dallas needs right now. It's just control it on offense and let the running game do its thing, and not do anything crazy. And Luke McCown had a great game too against Carolina, but just overall, I can't really say great, but I think I like Whedon a little bit better.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. And McCown, he's a talented kid, but he's just, I think I see him more with Whedon. I think Whedon has a good arm. He's just, not been able to show it too much because of what he's been relegated to.
Fair. I think McCown's a better quarterback, honestly. To me, I think Whedon's still prone to making that mistake. I think McCown just was kind of put in one of those pressure situations where he felt like he had to throw it, and that's why that interception was made. I thought he looked better than Whedon in that game, and he didn't have the help that Whedon had. What if... I bet Whedon doesn't look as good if Joseph Randall doesn't go off like he did in that first quarter. And, then McFadden had the good drive that he had when he was there. McCown had more that he had to work with on his own. So I thought he showed me more there. I mean, Whedon might have the better arm and everything, but, I have to see what the Cowboys' play calling and all that's going to be in this game. That being said, and I think the better question is I think the better question based off what we saw in the Thursday night game is how many times are they going to show Romo on the sideline? God, I felt like every single time there was a camera on Ben Roethlisberger. So, how many times? So that being said, what are they going to mention more? Romo and showing him? Are they going to mention Jerry Jones more and showing him in the box or wherever the heck he is? Or they're going to talk about Hurricane Katrina, because they like to talk about that, too.
I'll err on the side. Oh, go ahead, Randy.
Well, I was going to say Tony Romo's shoulder, especially after what we saw tonight with Big Ben. That's why I wanted this question asked. That was goofy. But with the hurricane going on, on the East Coast, I'm starting to lean more they're going to talk more Hurricane Katrina than anything else.
You could be right on that. But, that's also... been in the past, and I think they'll have their moments about that, but I think during the game they'll talk about the quarterbacks and all that, and I think Romo will still get maybe the edge.
I'm going to say Romo. They're definitely going to be talking about him constantly, especially because they're going to show him high-fiving people and all this and whatever, just so they did with Big Ben today, so I'll go with that. Who we got in this game, though?
Go for it. I want to hear the Cowboys fans.
It's a difficult game because of the fact all the different scenarios. This Cowboys defense going to be ready to play this game. Is Mincy going to play? They've been teasing him playing. He's been teasing he's not going to play. He's going to be a big factor in this game if he does or doesn't play. Even if Drew Brees plays, I still feel like Dallas has the talent level to do it. I think they screwed up last week. I think they can fix their mistakes. I'm just going to go for it. I'll say the Cowboys.
I'm going to say Cowboys as well. I think they can make Drew Brees have some issues. The corners are not bad. Nobody is Julio Jones on offense. I know Brandon Cooks is quick and everything, but I think he can be, even if he does get his, I think the Saints defense is not one of those that I'm worried about all of a sudden stuffing everybody in the run game. Now, I will say that Rob Ryan will probably be after some revenge or wanting to show something here, but I think he gets it shoved in his face and the Cowboys wind up winning.
Give me the Saints here. I'm not saying they really have that much of a chance at the playoffs, but 0-4 obviously is the nail in the coffin. So I think they come out completely desperate. I think Drew Brees does play in this game, and they are at home, and they're dangerous there. So give me New Orleans.
All right, fair enough. So let's get to this Monday Night Football game. Detroit at 0-3 coming into Seattle. Yeah, this does not look good if you're a Detroit Lions fan. And, one of the things that Detroit really needs to figure out is how to run the ball. And Seattle is probably not the team you want to try to figure that out against.
Yeah, when you're averaging 45 yards of rushing a game, and now you're going against Seattle, it's not going to get better. That average might even go down. I don't like the prospects of Detroit's offense in this game.
Oh, this is not going to be a fun game to watch on Monday night. I have a feeling we're going to have about a 10-minute conversation about it on the recap, and it's probably going to be mostly 5 minutes. Yeah, maybe even 5 minutes. It just depends, but I just don't see a lot of success here for Detroit. I mean, it's just not a good situation.
So that being said, I mean, how bad do you think the Lions will be? True or false? Back-to-back shutouts for Seattle.
You know what? I'm going true.
Yeah, so we agree on that. To me, I see nothing that leads me to believe that there's anything that this Detroit offense can throw at Seattle that they can't stop.
I have a feeling Calvin Johnson gets a touchdown at least. Or Abdullah breaks through and gets one. He is pretty fast. It's hard for me to say that they won't at least get a field goal. I'm going to say false on that. So are we all picking Seahawks here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that does it for our NFL Week 4 preview. So all we got to do now is go over some of the college football stuff leading into Week 5 college football already. Randy dropped a little bit in the polls as far as our group pick'ems. I went up a bit, which I'm happy about, but who knows, maybe this week we'll see me drop a bunch too. But let's play this little music here and we will get it started.
All right, this week we actually have 5 matchups with 2 ranked teams going against each other. So another action-packed weekend in college football. Let's just do the quick hits real quick. Just give me your winner, confidence points if you've done them, Gary. Iowa at number 19, Wisconsin. I have Wisconsin in a blowout. I have them as my number 10.
I have Wisconsin. Haven't done points yet, but they'll be high.
I have Wisconsin as my number 9 in a blowout.
Minnesota at number 16, Northwestern. Again, another blowout. I have this as my 9 as Northwestern.
I have Northwestern in a blowout. I had them as my 7.
Yeah, Northwestern for me too. High number.
How about Pittsburgh at Virginia Tech? This one a little bit closer. Are
they still playing the backup? I'm guessing because I think they said the collarbone was like a 6-week thing.
Yeah, the backup is still in. It's still broken. I'm going to give the edge to Virginia Tech, though. Only at a 4, though.
I got Virginia Tech as well.
I have Virginia Tech, I think, as a 6. I don't feel too confident about it, but I'm going to still keep it at a 6.
How about Air Force at Navy? I saw something Navy posted that was making fun of Air Force. I haven't been able to actually watch it. From what I've seen, it looks pretty funny. But give me Navy here at a 6.
That's my 10. Navy beating Air Force.
Ooh, that's confidence. I got Navy, though, too.
How about Kansas State at Oklahoma State, the number 20 ranked team? I like Oklahoma State here, and a little bit easier road than they have had the last few weeks. I have them as in my number 18.
Yeah, I got Oklahoma State as well.
I have Kansas State with the upset of my number 4.
There you go. All right, let's get to these 5 really big ones. Number 23, West Virginia at number 15, Oklahoma. West Virginia is not allowed a point in the first half this season, outscoring their opponents 74-0. But Oklahoma's offense is pretty good, 771 yards per game through the air. Give me Oklahoma as my 7. West Virginia hasn't played anybody yet, and I think they get shown up here.
Yeah, I'm going Oklahoma as well because these are the kind of games they like to win.
I was going to say the same thing as you, Randy. I've got it as my 8.
Number 13, Alabama at number 8, Georgia. This is going to be a good one. Alabama's quarterback Coker has been struggling, at only 55% completions, even worse when he's throwing it down the field. On the other side, Lambert for Georgia has been awesome, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. If the line in Vegas stays as it is, this will snap a 72-game streak of Alabama being the favorite in their games. But we all know how Georgia is about, being the favorite at home and this big chance for them to finally be a national championship contender and blowing it. Gary, do they blow it here?
I almost want to say they will, but you know what? I've got to stick behind my guy, and I'm going to go with Georgia.
Sean?
I'm going to say they blow it, Alabama.
I have Georgia not blowing it, but my confidence level is at a 1. So, I unknown here. How about...
I have it as my... Yeah, I have it as my 1 as well.
Yeah, Tony Schiavone, don't let us down.
Oh, God, you intense.
Number 3, Ole Miss at number 25, Florida. Florida's won their last 3 games by a margin of 7 or less. This is the first time these two teams will have played each other where they are both ranked since 1958. And Ole Miss looks to be the second team ever to win 3 straight games at Gainesville. Sean, do they do it?
Nope. I think Florida does the upset here. I have it as my 3, though. I'm not too confident about it, but I think Florida's on a roll with these things. I think that Tennessee win is going to give them a lot of confidence.
What about you, Gary?
I disagree. I think Ole Miss has looked great this year, and I think they're going to go in and they're going to make sure that Florida knows it.
You have Ole Miss here. I had Florida at one point when I was doing research and bouncing it back and forth. I have Ole Miss as my 5. I totally see what Sean is saying. I watched a lot of that Tennessee game, but I think they're going to need a bit more than a crazy 4th down play to be able to beat Ole Miss, and I just don't see them doing it. Number 21, Mississippi State at number 14, Texas A&M. Mississippi State with the 13th best defense in the nation, while Texas A&M is actually 0-5 under Kevin Sumlin at home versus ranked teams. I think that streak continues. Give me Mississippi State, but it is a road team in the SEC, so I have it as a 2.
Yeah, I trust Prescott. I'm going Mississippi State.
I'm going to say Texas A&M, and I have it as my 5.
And then the final one here, number 6, Notre Dame at number 12, Clemson. Notre Dame with the 6th best rushing attack versus Clemson, who has won the last 11 at home. I believe that was the 4th longest streak, is what I read. Double check. Yep, 4th longest active streak in the nation. I say that continues, and Clemson pulls the mini upset at home. That is my 3.
I'm not choosing against Notre Dame again. So here we go. I'm going to go with that.
I'm going to go Notre Dame. I have it as my 2.
There you go. Those are your 10 games this week in our college football pick'em.
All right. Well, what to watch for this weekend. I think obviously that London game with Miami and the Jets is something to watch for because it's always a spectacle for them to go overseas. Also because you can hear us broadcast the game. Of course, I have to tell you again. So, again, Rival.tv. Go over there. You can find us, W2M Network. Click on it. You can hear our wonderful voices giving you analysis and play-by-play and some jokes and all that stuff because we'll get to talk about stupid commercials. So I'm sure they'll play a Destiny commercial in there, and Randy and I will somehow get into some video game talk or something. So yeah, there's that. I think anything else? I mean, the college slate I think looks even more interesting than the NFL slate this week. That Notre Dame Clemson game looks like it's going to be awesome. I think the SEC is definitely going to be something to really. Anything you're really excited about, Randy?
Yeah, actually, mine goes a little off topic here, but it is football, so I think it counts. Let's see. So it'll be Saturday morning at 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time. It's 9:30 for me. If you can find it anywhere, I know Fox Sports 2 used to show them. I don't know where they'll put this, but the grand final of Aussie Rules football is then my Hawthorne Hawks go for their 3rd straight against the West Coast Eagles. Even if you don't have any idea about that sport is a blast to watch, and it is their finals Friday at 9:30 Pacific time, Saturday morning at 12:30 if you're over there at the East Coast. That's what I am looking forward to this weekend.
Gary?
I don't have any specific, I guess, games, but the one game that I'll have to point to that I am really intrigued about is not just because it's my team, but as well as just the implications for these two teams. The Dallas Cowboys going into New Orleans, a rowdy crowd. It's going to be insane. It's going to be an interesting game, and I think it'll be a nail biter. So that'll be a game I'm watching out for.
Another game, speaking of your teams, there, Texas playing TCU.
Yeah, it's hard for me because I love my Texas Longhorns, but man, I've got to root against them when TCU at least has a shot to do maybe something.
I'm surprised they don't have this on there instead of having some of these other games. Does anybody think Texas Tech does the same thing to Baylor that they did to TCU?
Oh, I hope so.
Make them really have to work for it?
Yeah, it'd be a close game. It should be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. I think they could.
It'd be interesting. It'd be hilarious if Baylor somehow loses.
Yeah, it just depends on how the health of the quarterback is because he was hobbling around in that TCU game.
Yeah, true. All right, well that about does it for our preview edition of the podcast. Of course, if you don't know if this is the first time you're listening to us, we are available on demand on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Podbean. Spreaker is our place where we are live, and we are also there on demand as well. VOC Nation, Radio Network. We're available at pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. We are there. You can also subscribe to us, or you can subscribe to the W2M Network if you like wrestling or video games or anything. Gary and I are about to do our wrestling podcast. The Wrestling Max podcast in here just a little bit. I'm going to do this quick because we're trying to make a deadline here. Randy has a great video game podcast called the Backlove Busting Project, where they pretty much retro review some games, 3 every 2 weeks.
Yes.
You should really go check it out. I mean, they talked about Valiant Hearts and why am I blanking right now about the other?
Well, because I was going to talk about Freedom Planet, but didn't realize it was broken until today. I finally get to play that game, and then Wes played Fallout 3.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, and then Fallout 4 is about to be right around the corner of my month. So I'm excited because I found out that the red boxes around me are now finally having Xbox One and PS4 games, so I can rent Fallout 4 and try it out and stuff. Apparently not all the companies are with Redbox this time around, though. No Madden and FIFA or Halo or anything like that. Only certain companies. Obviously, Activision doesn't give a crap because they know everybody buys their games. But yeah. So I mean, that's that about does it for the plugs here. So again, we'll be back on Monday night after the M&F game. Check us out if you're awake during that London game at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, or if you live somewhere else and you gotta get up earlier. And yeah, well, if you're listening on demand Tuesday morning, we will be there for you. All right, enjoy your games this weekend, everybody. Later.